Hello everybody and welcome back, and in this tutorial what we will do is we will see how we can actually sniff the usernames and passwords from any HTTP website that the target actually opens. Now make sure to actually, while running this program that we will code right now, make sure to have the ARP spoofer and the the packet forwarding enabled in order to get this program to work. So let us see how we can do that. First of all, what we want to do is go to our Python programs and go to our local network programs. There we can actually make a sniffer, so since this program will sniff any username and any password on the HTTP websites, you will call it sniffer.py, so nanosniffer.py. We start off with a usual line, which is user bin Python. And after that, we want to import two libraries. Now, they are the same libraries, but they are specified in the different order. So let me just show you. Import scapy.all as scapy, which is something that we encountered before. And from scapy underscore HTTP, import HTTP. So if you just save this, I will show you how you can install scapy underscore HTTP, since it really doesn't come in the Kali Linux, since I had to install it like 10 minutes ago or something like that. You need to type pip install scapy underscore HTTP. And you let this run, and what this will do is it will collect the library for you, and then after that you will be able to actually run the functions from this library. As you can see, for me the requirements is already satisfied, so all I have to do is actually code the program from now on. So go to my sniffer.py, we imported the library, and let us use a function from scapy called sniff. In that function, what I will specify is the actual interface, which in my case will be once again ETH0. And all I want to do is actually code this function upwards. So we will code it and we will name it the same, so def sniff. It will take an input, as you can see, the input of the interface. And with that interface, we will use the scapy sniff function, which will be scapy.sniff. And then iFace equals to the interface. We will not store anything basically, and we will process the packets to the function called process underscore packets. And basically these are the three arguments that we specified right here. We selected the interface to be equal to the argument that we parsed to the actual function. We said store equals to false, which means it doesn't store packets in the memory. And basically pr and back is the callback function that we will use in order to process our packets. So all we are left to do is actually code the process packets function. Let us go right here. Def process underscore packets. In that function we will need to paste the argument of the packet itself. And what we want to check first is, for example, if you have any knowledge in the actual websites, you know that everything is sent over HTTP requests and responses, as well as the usernames and passwords. So what we need to check is since we imported this scapy underscore HTTP, we want to actually check if our packet we are processing has the layer HTTP. Most likely, we want to actually send the layer to be set the layer to be HTTP request, since in the request we are actually requesting to log into some page. Then the server will send back the response saying either we log in successfully or we didn't. So what we want to actually specify right here is three things, the same as in our FTP sniffer. What we want to specify is the actual URL from which the username and password is coming to. So basically, if someone tries to log into the Facebook, we need to also print out that the login username and password is being tried on that website, which will be facebook.com. Since if we just print the usernames and passwords, it doesn't mean anything to us, since we don't really know where to use those usernames and passwords once we sniff them. So we need to check if packet has layer, and the layer will be called http.http capital and then capital R and then request, so HTTP request. This will perform the function of actually checking if this layer exists in our packet. And what we want to do is actually select the HTTP request packet to be equal, the URL to be equal to http request.host. So the host is the target that the user is trying to send the password and the username to. So we want to sniff that as well with the URL equals. URL is the variable that will specify the host to be in. So packet from the http.http request. And we want to take the field called host field. We also want to take the path, since we actually want to get the path to the page where they are logging in. For example, some pages can have multiple login forms, and the multiple login forms can be stored on different paths. So we will also want to get the path, which we can do with the packet and open and close brackets http.http request, and we want to get the path as well. So the path, once we do that, basically we can print the URL. So print it just like this, print URL, and all we want to do is now check if our Scapy or our packet has the layer scapy.raw. Now you might remember that layer from before. Once we actually send the self-crafted TCP packets with the load field containing our message to the target, once we actually run our SYN flutter, from there you should know the layer, and in this case that layer will contain any username and password that the target might specify. So let's see how we can do that. We can check that if packet.hasLayer scapy.raw, and from that raw layer, since the raw layer only has one field, and let me show you in case you forgot, if you open Scapy and you just type ls in the brackets raw, you can see that the raw layer only has the load field, which will contain the message. So let us exit this, and in our case it will contain the username and password. So open this up where we stopped. Let me just go back to right here, and then we press the .load for the actual username and password being stored there. We want to check for the actual keywords. Now the keywords are basically something that we are searching for in this raw layer. So we can specify them right here. Or we can just go down here, it doesn't even matter. We can just select the words to be equal to the open and closed square brackets. And there we can specify what we are searching for. We can search for password, username, basically anything that you might actually encounter in that field. As capital user and so on, it doesn't even matter. We'll just specify this for now on. Let us also add the capital password. This is our words list, which is containing the words that we are actually expecting the raw field to have once someone tries to log in somewhere. So all we have to do right now is actually iterate over these words and check if any of those words is in our field right here. So let's first of all add the two dots right here. And all we want to do right now is actually select, or pardon me, we don't want to actually select the .load right here. We only want to select scapy.raw, and we want to select the load to be equal to the packet in the square bracket scapy.raw, and then .load. Since we don't really want to specify all of this always, so we just put that in one variable so we can actually navigate more easily. And then for some variable I in words, which is our list that we created previously, we want to check if I is in string from our load variable. Make sure to specify string right here, otherwise this will not work. Specify two dots, and we want to print load. So let us actually check out what we just coded right here. If we first of all check if this packet has layer raw, which will contain usernames and passwords. If it does, we select the load field from the raw packet, from the raw layer, to be stored in our load variable, and then we iterate over this words list right here. In case any of those words is in the string of our load variable, we will print the load. And then after that we can actually break from this actual loop. Let me just go right here. since we sniff for the packets. So all you can do is first of all check if this is running. So chmod sniffer.py, run the sniffer. As we can see, everything works well enough. And all we have to do is actually just find the HTTP website on which we can sniff. So we can go to our actual fake Facebook page. Let me just see. Let's open it like this. So we can see everything good enough. And here, let's specify, for example, this and some random letters. We click here on login. For some reason, it didn't catch it. Let us try another page. So let us try, for example, my router, but I'm not really sure it will work on router. But let's give it a try, why not? So let's see, we got an error, so that is actually good. So we know something is wrong. I mean, it's not good, but we know there is some error somewhere. So first of all, instance method object has not attribute get item. So let's check the line where the actual error is. If packet has layer escapee.raw, so let me just go to my sniffer in order to see whether that was a mistake because we tried to connect to the router or something else. It could be just because of the router, so nothing really to worry about. If packet has layer, okay, so we actually need to specify this in the actual normal brackets. I just noticed that we specified it in the square brackets, which we really shouldn't do that. So make sure to change that. We need to make sure that here is specified if packet.hasLayer and in the normal brackets escapee.raw. And then also, let me just check down here. This should be like this, so this is good. This didn't work since hasLayer is a function and a function can't really have an argument specified in the square brackets. So let me save this. Run the sniffer once again. Let me cancel this and reload the page. Okay, I reload the page, we get the IP address. I type something randomly, click here OK. But we can't seem to really get the username and password. But once again, that could be just because of the actual router and not because of the program itself. So let us try something else. It doesn't seem to work, but this actually redirects us to the HTTPS, so that could be the problem as well. Now, I don't really know any HTTP website that we can test this on. Basically, if you know one, you can just try this and test it and check out if this will work. Now, I believe it will work, even though I don't have anything to test it on. Let me just enlarge this and see if there is any other problem in the code. So nanosniffer.py, everything should be correct. We have our words list over which we iterate. It prints the URL once it sees that we actually get the HTTP website. It checks if this packet has this layer right here. Then it prints the load. So for me, if you ask me, this should actually work on an HTTP website. Don't really see any error, nor we get any error while trying to run the program. But I don't really have any HTTP website to test on, as I said, so if you have, make sure to test it and feel free to comment whether you got it to work or you didn't, so we can actually update this video and get it to work. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next lecture. Bye!